So you wake with sand still in your eyes and a heaviness murmuring that nothing inside you feels ready for sunrise. And you quietly wonder if getting up is even worth the effort. Yet the room holds its breath, a fragile hush before birds dare to sing, inviting you to bring every honest ache into the gentle company of the one who is already near. His steadfast mercy surrounds you like unseen arms, assuring you that distance is an illusion in his presence. Here, at the rim of dawn, you can lay every anxious thought down, trading restless plans for trust and letting borrowed strength seep into weary bones. Lay peace. Psalm 34:7 way 8. This promise whispers that closeness is God's native posture toward broken hearts. You never have to shout across an empty sky. What sorrow or desire will you entrust to him right now? Which corner of purpose needs fresh light? Breathe slowly, and as shadows recede, praise begins to stir. Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the sacred road that leads from H to praise. You stand at the threshold of this day, carrying a quiet hurt that no one else fully sees. Memories of words left unsaid, tasks undone, and fears unspoken settle on your shoulders like damp mist, seeping into every thought. You could pretend confidence, yet pretense would only harden the ache. Honesty, though trembling, invites mercy. So you pause, breathing in the faint scent of dew, washed earth, and name aloud each weight, the disappointment that plans unraveled, the tense conversation that still stings, the uncertainty about finances, the loneliness that shadows your smile. You resist the urge to downplay any of it, for truth, like fresh air, must first be let in before healing can breathe out. As you speak truthfully, the dawn itself seems to lean closer, pooling pale gold along the horizon like a gentle salve. This is more than atmosphere. It is testimony that light still comes even when night has not fully released its grip. You are reminded that Scripture does not silence lament, but teaches it. Psalm 13:1-2. These verses show a heart that questions yet remains in dialogue with God, proving that vulnerability is welcomed at heaven's gate. They remind you that lament is not a lack of faith, but an act of trust. Let that permission soak into you. If King David could cry, "How long?" you too can whisper, "This hurts." Your tears are data, not defects. They measure the depth of what your spirit values. The Father who numbers every sparrow's fall also counts every tear, storing them as future evidence that sorrow never has the final word. Now gently open your hands, palms upward. Imagine every worry resting there, the overdue bill, the fractured relationship, the interview that feels intimidating. Feel their texture, their weight, and release them one by one into the sunrise. As you release, inhale deeply, welcoming the cool air that carries birdsong across the stillness. Let the melody remind you that creation sings on schedule even when your rhythm feels broken. Perhaps you wonder whether letting go means indifference. It does not. Surrender places concern into sturdier arms. In fact, acknowledging ache is the first courageous step toward trust, because you cannot hand over what you refuse to touch. 1 Peter 5:7. Casting your care is not a reckless toss into void, but a deliberate handoff to the God who cares, whose competency eclipses your capacity. Such transfer frees space within you for peace to enter and stay. Stay in this moment until the knot behind your sternum loosens. If relief feels slow, do not scold yourself. Patience grows precisely in waiting. Whisper, You hurt, yet you are heard. Feel the truth settle deeper than feeling. Already the H, though still real, becomes lighter because it is shared. Dawn has not erased the night, but it has begun to re-color it with promise. Carry forward one final truth. Honest ache does not disqualify you from communion, it often amplifies it. A cracked vessel can spread fragrance more freely than an unbroken jar. Your vulnerability creates vents through which grace escapes into the atmosphere of those around you. Rest another heartbeat in that knowledge. Even silent endurance can preach a sermon. God welcomes the weary exactly as they are, especially at sunrise. You have named your hurt, and in the quiet left behind, you begin to notice something almost imperceptible yet undeniably real presence. Not the chill lingering from night air, but a warmth rising from within the stillness itself. You sense it first as a pause in the clamor of thoughts, a hush widening like light spreading across water, then more clearly as a gentle conviction that you are not alone on this threshold. The God whose voice sculpted mountains now leans close enough for your heartbeat to echo in his embrace, reminding you that unseen nearness often precedes felt relief. Picture yourself at a window while mist uncurls from the meadow. As vapors part to reveal hidden contours, so divine proximity lifts the haze of insecurity cloaking your mind. His nearness is not a concept but a climate, one you can inhale. Psalm 145 United, this verse affirms that sincerity, not perfection, draws the Holy One. Every whispered cry finds a listening heart. You never scale ladders of worthiness. He descends into your now. Let that certainty settle deeper than logic. If God is closer than breath, then every tremor of your pulse becomes an altar. Offer mundane moments as incense, the faint gurgle of a coffee maker, the creak of a floorboard, the silence between notifications. Each small sound becomes a bell calling you back to communion. You need not strive to keep his attention. Eternal attentiveness is his nature. When doubts insist you have wandered too far, answer them with this truth: distance is measured only in awareness, never in affection. Lift your gaze toward the eastern rim of sky, where rose gold threads stitch darkness today. Imagine those threads as grace weaving your scattered thoughts together. The one who hems the horizon also hems you in, behind and before, ensuring nothing you face today arrives unaccompanied. Feel reassurance bloom, whether you navigate crowded streets, blank screens, or sterile corridors. You walk wrapped in nearness thicker than shadow. Even fatigue lightens when carried by shared strength. You may wonder how to maintain this awareness once schedules quicken. Begin with a sacred pause. Before answering a message, acknowledge the listener dwelling beneath the silence. When anxiety spikes, inhale a 4, count breath, exhale the name, Emmanuel, God with you. Let that rhythm re-center you. Soon you recognize presence in ordinary patterns, a key turning smoothly, a stranger's smile, a breeze arriving precisely when heat threatens resolve. Each becomes a love note reminding you who walks beside every step. Remember, nearness also arrives through scripture you recall, hymns humming softly in memory, and the quiet conviction that every breath is shared with eternity. Keep these tokens within reach, and they will guide you back whenever distraction tries to steal awareness. Finally, rest in the mystery that nearness may not alter circumstances, yet always transforms you. Proximity redefines identity. You are more beloved than beleaguered, more carried than cornered. Let that awareness escort you into tasks with quiet confidence. Challenges may persist, but companionship turns corridors into paths of hope. Savor one more breath, allow gratitude to surface, and ready your heart for the next step in this morning pilgrimage, assured that the one who is close will remain. Slipping your feet onto the cool floor, you feel the soft tremor of vulnerability that comes whenever will meets morning. Yet even before you rise fully, you decide that your first movement will be an act of surrender rather than control. You inhale, gathering yesterday's leftover tension, and picture yourself placing each fragment onto an unseen altar, the deadline that stalks your calendar, the conversation you dread, the silent fear of falling short. This deliberate release is not passivity. It is the conscious choice to let stronger hands bear what yours cannot hold indefinitely. Trust begins in thoughts, so you watch them the way a shepherd watches sheep. When one strays into, what if, pastures, you guide it back with a quiet reminder. You are cared for. Another thought frets over image and reputation. You answer, identity rests in love, not applause. As each stray worry returns, calm spreads like sunlight across grass, slow, persistent, unstoppable. In this simple mental practice, you taste the discipline of faith, which is not blind optimism, but tethered attention, fastening every rumination to a foundation that will not crumble. Proverbs 3:5-6. These verses invite you to lean the full weight of understanding on divine wisdom. In doing so, crooked roots straighten beneath obedient feet. Direction is promised to hearts that dare to relinquish the map. Now you translate interior trust into motion. You stretch, feeling joints awaken, and as limbs extend, you speak blessing over each. Arms, serve with kindness. Legs, walk with compassion. Voice, speak truth. At breakfast, you choose nourishment that honors the vessel entrusted to you. When you scroll news, you pause after each headline, anchoring perception in gratitude before opinion solidifies. Emails receive measured replies rather than rushed reactions, because a paced heart can type peace into pixels. Trust becomes the invisible ink writing serenity into ordinary lines. Occasionally, anxiety flares again, like a sudden gust unsettling calm water. Instead of chastising yourself, you acknowledge the ripple and let it pass through. You remember that trust is practiced, not perfected. A single wavering moment does not negate progress. It reveals where deeper union can grow. Each return to reliance chisels character the way steady drops carve stone. Even setbacks teach the art of beginning again, and every restart is greeted by the same waiting mercy. By late morning, you notice subtle evidence that surrender reshapes outlook. Colors appear sharper, dialogue feels gentler. Even tasks once dreaded seem lighter, as though someone larger is doing the heavier lifting. Perspective shifts from, "How will I manage?" to, "Watch how we will advance." That plural hope, whispered in collaboration with the divine, turns duty into pilgrimage. Steps fall into rhythm with eternal cadence, and confidence becomes quiet rather than loud, steady rather than hurried. As noon approaches, you sense invitation to carry this trusting posture forward. The path ahead may twist through uncertainty, yet guidance accompanies each bend. Let this assurance settle the same presence who met you in ache, and nearness now guides your stride. Hold that certainty like a lantern, and get ready to discover the gentle strength waiting just beyond the next horizon. You step beyond the doorway of trust and feel the morning breeze settle against your skin, cool yet carrying a quiet promise of warmth to come. That breeze mirrors the gentle strength God imparts, unobtrusive, steady, persistent as light. It does not demand attention with thunder or quake. It arrives like sap rising inside branches, invisible yet essential, enabling them to bear both blossom and storm. You recognize this strength when a sigh lifts from your chest and turns into resolve, when shoulders square without strain, when thoughts arrange themselves like disciplined swallows lining a wire, ready to launch. You recall times when grit alone kept you moving. But grit eventually grinds down. Strength born of grace works differently. It seeps into marrow, not muscle, and sustains even when muscle falters. Isaiah 42:9. This verse reveals a God who energizes the faint, proving that renewal flows from Him, not from frantic striving. Your weakness becomes the doorway through which divine vigor enters. So you practice receiving. On each inhale, imagine drawing fresh vitality from the one whose resources never dim. On each exhale, picture tension draining like ebbing tide. With this rhythmic exchange, calm stamina forms behind your sternum, quieting the drumbeat of hurry. Soon you notice how strength chooses subtle venues to appear in patience that listens fully before replying, in restraint that declines gossip, in endurance that keeps eyes kind during monotony. These are not flashy victories, yet they turn ordinary hours into hidden triumphs. Mid-morning obstacles test this new resilience. A curt email arrives. You feel self-defense rising, but instead of reacting, you pause, sip water, and silently bless the sender. That pause is strength wearing humility. A task ballooning beyond estimates threatens to steal afternoon peace. You break it into smaller passages and begin with the simplest line item. That decision is strength expressing wisdom. By noon, accumulated micro choices form a quiet current, carrying you farther than sheer force ever could. Remember, gentle strength also knows when to rest. You schedule brief walks, letting sun filter through leaves onto your face. Each leaf's delicate architecture reminds you that sturdiness and softness coexist. You stretch wrists between keystrokes, honoring limits rather than despising them. Even saying no to excess becomes an act of courage dressed in foresight. In these ways, strength moves like water, yielding around obstacles yet steadily carving new paths. Resist comparing your endurance to another's visible output. Strength is calibrated uniquely. A marathoner's cadence differs from a gardener's, yet both require persistence. Celebrate every inward victory, the thought redirected, the temper tamed, the hope resurrected. Keep a small ledger of these daily graces and review it when dusk arrives. Memory of past provision fortifies tomorrow's will. As afternoon light lengthens, you realize you have carried the morning's honesty, nearness, and trust with you, and they now bloom into sustained capability. Challenges have not vanished, but your posture toward them has changed. Instead of a clenched jaw, you hold a steady gaze. Instead of bracing, you lean on promise. Gentle strength whispers, "You are held, therefore you can hold." Let that truth echo until it anchors deep. Pause here, breathe again, and prepare to trace how renewed power awakens fresh purpose in the hours still unfolding. The sun now rides high, painting rooftops with bright intent, and you sense the same upward pull inside your chest, a gentle summons to step beyond mere survival into meaning. Morning's honesty cleared the fog, divine nearness steadied your pulse, trust charted the way, and gentle strength steadied your stride. Together they prepare fertile ground where purpose can root. You pause at your workspace, classroom, kitchen, or roadway, and let your gaze linger on the tools of your daily craft. Laptop keys, steering wheel, measuring cup, stethoscope, realizing each ordinary object can become an instrument for holy influence when placed beneath heaven's direction. Purpose is not a spotlight hunting grand gestures. It is a steady lamp guiding faithful routines. Ephesians 2:10. This reminder declares you are a handcrafted work, created for good paths prepared in advance. You never wander aimlessly. Because design precedes every step, significance is woven into the mundane like gold thread hidden in burlap. So you begin by asking, who can receive hope through my next action? Maybe it's a colleague hunched beneath deadlines, a child craving undivided attention, or a stranger reading subtle kindness in your posture. Purpose glimmers when you choose empathy over efficiency, prayer over presumption, diligence over distraction. A quick message that says, I believe in you, can reroute someone's afternoon. A dish washed without complaint can soften an entire household's atmosphere. When you recall that eternity inhabits moments, small seeds feel worthy of careful planting. As you outline tasks, release perfectionism's grip. You can aim for excellence, yet purpose values faithfulness above flawless outcomes. Consider the farmer scattering grain. Not every seed sprouts, yet harvest still arrives. Likewise, some emails may land without response. Projects may evolve beyond recognition. Friendships may stretch thin. Still, your labor is never wasted. Purpose resides in obedience to the prompting, not society's applause for the product. Keep sowing kindness, competence, creativity, and watch how unseen rains nourish roots long after you forget the field. Notice too how renewed purpose softens your relationship with time. Instead of racing the clock, you partner with it, welcoming each hour as a vessel waiting to be filled, not conquered. You establish short pauses, 30-second breaths, 1-minute prayers, 2-line thank yous, miniature Sabbaths that remind you productivity is servant, not master. These pauses tilt hurried tasks towards sacred service, turning checklists into liturgies of devotion. By mid-afternoon, fatigue may whisper that meaning has evaporated. Answer with memory. Recall the ledger of gentle strength and invite gratitude to amplify it. You were sustained earlier. You will be guided again. Purpose is fueled by remembrance. Each flash of past faithfulness sparks confidence for the next assignment. If discouragement lingers, lift your perspective. Picture the sun sinking westward, preparing vermilion trails just out of sight. Even as light transitions, it blesses. Likewise, transitions in your work, project handoffs, season changes, endings, can radiate beauty no less brilliant than beginnings. Carry into evening the conviction that what you do, when done in love, echoes beyond visible horizons. Purpose does not expire at clock out. It travels home in your words, lingers in rooms you leave, and even rides digital currents into hearts you may never meet. Rest in that expansive view. You are part of a mosaic only heaven sees complete. End the day resolved to release results, retain lessons, and rise tomorrow ready to crown dawn with praise. The horizon blushes with first light, and you feel gratitude rise like a tide within your chest, soft at first, then swelling until it finds words. You open a window, letting morning air braid itself through your hair, and you whisper thank you for the miracle of breath. Each inhale confirms mercy, each exhale releases awe. Praise is not a performance, but a pulse already beating in creation, waiting for you to join its cadence. The trees outside sway, as if conducting a silent anthem, their leaves catching newborn radiance, and even the city's distant hum melds into harmony. You begin naming gifts, the sturdy roof above you, the memory of laughter shared yesterday, the unexpected email that encouraged your weary spirit, the quiet resilience that kept you steady through midnight questions. With every recollection, the room brightens, though lamps remain off. Where earlier you catalogued burdens, now you inventory wonders, and the list feels endless. Gratitude sharpens sight, revealing beauty camouflaged by routine, steam curling from tea, the faint heartbeat of a wall clock, the velvet hush between notes of birdsong. Soon Thanksgiving overflows into blessing. You speak benevolence over your household, your colleagues, the stranger you will meet at the crosswalk. You remember that spoken kindness is seed, and you scatter it freely. May peace guard your mind. May joy surprise your day. May strength find you at the exact hour you need it. Your words drift outward like dandelion fluff, trusting the Spirit to plant them in receptive soil. In praising, you participate in divine generosity, becoming a conduit through which goodness travels. As the sun clears rooftop edges, shadows flee, and praise matures into adoration. No longer focused on gifts but on giver, you contemplate holiness that spans galaxies, yet chooses to dwell in morning's simplicity. Wonder ignites humility, pride evaporates like dew. You lift your hands, whether literally or within imagination, and let affection take flight. You are the created adoring the Creator, the finite dancing with infinite majesty. In that exchange, identity settles, beloved worshipper, bearer of light. Before closing this sacred space, you pledge to carry praise into every corridor of the coming hours. When meetings drag, you will sneak away internally to whisper thanks. When traffic snarls, you will sing under your breath. When fatigue presses, you will recall dawn's splendor and believe new mercies still flow. Praise is a torch you can hold high, illuminating not only your path, but also journeys of those walking beside you. Now, fortified by adoration, step forward with a song woven through your heartbeat, knowing heaven hears every note. Pause for a final breath and let the melody of gratitude linger. Notice how even silent spaces echo with the assurance that you are loved, guided, and sustained. Carry this awareness like hidden oil that keeps your inner lamp aglow when the day grows dim. Should discouragement whisper, recall the hush of dawn when mercy kissed your forehead and called you chosen. Let every ordinary act become an offering, every conversation a possible hymn. Walk softly, speak kindly, shine steadily, and return to this song whenever shadows lengthen.